Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Kis Uni webcast series. I'm your host, Farid, and today we have a very special guest. He did his OA levels from Bayview Academy and Nixer College in Karachi, respectively, and then he went on to do CA from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. His work experience involves in Nixer Financial Services, being the co-founder and executive head of Stakehold Pakistan, which is now under Webict, a blockchain startup of which Asaad is also the co-founder and chief executive officer. Everyone, I present Asaad Sohail.
Thank you very much, Farid. It's an honor to be here at this podcast.
It's an honor to have you here as well. So first, give a sort of general introduction about yourself, Asaad. How's your journey been throughout the years, and what do you like, and like a general one?
So basically, I graduated from A levels from Nixer in 2021 August, and that's when I started off with chartered accountancy. And about myself, I would say that I'm an enthusiast for capital markets, and very much in the finance field. And other than that, I've been working on my startup. So we basically started off with Stakehold Pakistan in 2020, the COVID year in lockdown. And now we have started off with Webict, which basically, is empowered. It's going to be on the blockchain, inshallah. And, Stakehold Pakistan is going to be our first brand. And inshallah, we're planning out some other ventures as well under Webict.
That's great. So first, I think we should start from the very beginning of this. So let's start with your O and A levels. How was your experience at Bayview Academy and Nixer College? Obviously one of the best in Karachi. So how did that time go?
I would say the time at O levels was very much of a relaxing time. I won't say that there was any sort of I think there wasn't any responsibility on us, and we were just free living our lives. Especially that school is known for living your life, and you just don't tend to get out of your bed and do something out of the box. But I would say it was a good networking experience, and you've been with people. There was a good community over there, and we've been we still are in contact with many of the people who are in many other parts of the world studying in different universities. Then moving on to Nixie, it was a completely different institute, I would say. People from really different backgrounds, people with really different thinking. Other than Bayview, it was a very much of a you can say a small bubble. Then I got into a much bigger bubble, and now currently I'm in, you can say, a very big bubble, because that's something bilkul different, chartered accountancy. But my experience in Nixer was fantastic. I would say it was pre-COVID, it was one of the best experiences on campus. Nixer corporate culture, which you mentioned, Nixer financial services, was, I think, the best decision of my life. As a finance enthusiast, they just gave me a platform. That entity gave me the platform to express myself, and just upskill myself in not just capital markets but other different financial terms as well. Then in 2020, only after we got done with AS and it was all completely locked down, we started off with because I did my first stock market course. I'm a stock market instructor as well as Stakehold, and I personally did the first course at Nixer College only. I did this one session, and the response was really good. There was 120 students over there, and they really liked it. So my co-founder, who is not part of our journey right now because he's chosen some other path, he's in the military right now. So he told me, if you can do this in Nixer, why don't you spread this out in all of Karachi and all of Pakistan as well? Because it's something that's currently a luxury, but it should be a need. It should be something that everyone should, talk about. And because it's in the West, it's very common. In the West, it's very common to talk about capital markets. Either it's very small, students में तो है ही नहीं. So we started off with Stakehold, and Stakehold, pehle it was very much on its live platform. We used to do live courses, but now, since you can say November or even October, we are going on a much more, a different platform. We have now pre-recorded lectures, which inshallah we're going to be launching in the first week of April, with some few courses to start off with, 2 3 courses, and which also enhanced my experience in Mixer, because we were meeting new people. We met the dean, we met so many people, and it was, I would say, a good experience in Mixer. Then coming to chartered accountancy, it was obviously not the primary decision to join this, but yeah, I think it's I think it's a good decision, not if not even a bad one. But because you over here meet with different sort of people. I think in my first class I had around 60 people, and there were only 5 people from A levels, so it was completely a new thing for me,
So
meeting the inter people.
how basically to what extent did sort of A levels help you in, being interested in the stock market and, everything? Because, a lot of students of our age generally have this, like, to what extent does A levels prepare them for practical life? And that is why we have all these extracurriculars on the side, which also do mention, if you're part of, nowadays we have MUNs, we have business competitions for people who are interested in financial literacy and all that. Then we have science olympiads. So to what extent does your experience in A levels help you in dealing with, practical life?
Um, to be very honest, after coming to chartered accountancy, I take a look back at my A level course, and I can guarantee you that it's the A level course is the most extensive course you can get into at this age, right? Even if you go to any universities abroad, I don't know about Pakistan, but abroad I know the course is very extensive as compared to their education system and our local education system as well. So it's just that you just have to come out of your comfort zone. It's the economics is the same, right? You can't change the basic
Yeah.
economics, and you just have to apply that in the real world and the practical world. And once you develop that critical thinking, or you can approach, you can easily just sit up, go, get out of your bed and say, "Yaar, aaj maine ye karna hai," or you can easily start off, because now with this, after the pandemic, it's been really easy for students like us, to just go and open an account easily. You can even open an account online and start investing. Back then, you can say in 2019, it was much of a hassle. But as far as the knowledge base is concerned, if you talk about A level accounting, it's very much of what you need to know while you're investing in the stock market.
So then you went on to do chartered accountancy. So why not just do like a regular accounting degree from like LUMS or IBA? Why choose the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan in particular?
The three type of people who join chartered accountancy. Two of them, being the majority. Two of them, जो हैं वो हैं कि यार वो या तो they are here just because anyone told them कि यार अगर आप chartered accountant बन जाओगे तो your life is set. And the other and the other people are कि यार उनका कहीं admission नहीं हुआ तो वो यहाँ आ गए. So that constitutes of around 90-95% of the people, and just 5% of the people who join chartered accountancy on their own, saying कि यार नहीं मुझे ये करना है. So I would say कि it wasn't in my radar to do this as well directly. Obviously, at the back of my mind, I thought, if I could get into LUMS or IBA and do a ECF course from there, and I can get exemptions from ICAP, and then I can pursue this. But unfortunately, I couldn't get into IBA as well. So I said to myself, with like while taking a gap year, I thought, it wouldn't be as competitive for me, because I needed something for me to get out of bed, and I just needed some motivation to do some work. That 1 year would have wasted or deteriorated my skills as well. So I was like, because I have to do accounting only or ACF at IB or LUMS, so why not choose this field? There are a lot of people who choose this field, and I think 15-20,000 people join every year.
Okay. So Stakehold Pakistan was basically aimed at spreading financial literacy in Pakistan, or at least aimed to do it among the youth. So obviously having a startup like this basically requires you to have like a lot of motivation. And so just like guide me through what image did you conceive of Stakehold Pakistan when you founded it? Like, what was the main motivation behind it, other than you mentioned that you just loved, the stock market and everything, and your session at Nixer as well. But obviously, an interest like this develops over the years, and often there's like a lot of multiple factors that just propel you that okay, now I have to do this. So, like,
Yeah.
walk me through that.
So basically, what we did was we identified this gap amongst our education system. And this gap, I wouldn't say that it's too much in OA level system. Back then when I was in A levels, I also thought, yeah, there be a gap here. But, considering and taking into mind the situations those metric and inter people go through, there's a big gap that needs to be filled in because 60-70% of the population is the youth, and if they aren't catered well, because I wouldn't say, because you just can't blame the governments every day and you say yaar yahan to kuch hoga nahi, hum kya kare. So my founder, the Hashim Malik, who he also thought the same way, and he was very much focused in the education sector. He was like, yeah, kuch ho jaye isme, we have to make changes, if not today then tomorrow. So after there wasn't a very much of a solid plan when we started off. It was just financial literacy, but now our mandate has increased. The stakeholders' mandate has increased to all of literacy. So we're going towards things like Excel, Python, programming languages as well on a pre-recorded base. And the basic thing that we lack over here, I don't know of any platform that takes you to this extent to just to learn these things. And B, even if you go to an international platform, it's pretty much in English, right? So because of which the background, OA level market, they can easily take that course because even if they ask for $10,000, they're gonna give them from their pocket and they will like, yeah, ये ले लेते हैं, English में हो चाहे कुछ भी हो, you will understand it, right? But the inter market, they need, reasonable courses, and it should be very much compiled in Urdu. So that's what I think our USP is and what we aim to do. To reach the masses, we need to be amongst the masses.
So obviously having a startup on this scale and mashallah of it going so well, like I'm sure there were obviously a lot of obstacles along the way. So for a startup like this, like I'm sure being a competitive market and like thinking about the nature of your startup, obviously there were other platforms, I'm sure, like Coursera and edX that generally A-level students take, they take courses from there as well. So, what were some of the obstacles or problems that you and your team faced regarding this? And with that, also guide passionate entrepreneurs of how to deal with minor and major setbacks. Because obviously, life isn't perfect; it just throws stuff at you, and it's basically how you come out on top. And dealing with setbacks is a lot for not just a collective team, but also for you on a personal level. So just like expand upon the problems that you faced and in general how to deal with life's setbacks.
I think the biggest problem we faced was credibility, and we still face that. Even if we provide a certificate that's acknowledged by all of the universities, there's still a sense of credibility issues that come in the consumer's mind, and because of that, we faced a lot. Our reach has been very much limited. We're gonna see in some time here, inshallah, the credibility is gonna increase with as the consumer base increases. But just to get people on board, saying, yeah, nahi, we have used these certificates ourselves to apply to universities abroad and even in Pakistan, and they have not created any issues. So obviously, credibility issues take some time. So that's something that we dealt with every day. But we keeping that in mind, we saw कि यार अच्छा जितना हम काम करेंगे, जितनी हम consumer base को reach करेंगे, that credibility issue is gonna decrease with time. The other problem, the other big problem was financing. Financing, I think, to scale a business, the most important thing is thing is financing. You have to have a proper financing. Even if you have good tech, you can get good tech. You can outsource and get a good tech system. You can get a good team as well. If you spend money, you can get a good team as well. But financing is something that helps you scale, and that was some sort of an issue in the start. But as we move on, as I move on and studying chartered accountancy, which I can say, okay, it's one of the biggest levels of financing, and not just in Pakistan but in the world. These issues will decrease as we move on. But these are the two things that you we have to take in mind, and these are the two things that are going to take. Are just you just you will just feel demotivated about
Yeah.
things. Yeah, you won't get that sort of kick, or something that it won't take you out of bed to go and take a meeting, conduct a meeting even. And sometimes you feel कि यार बस छोड़ देते हैं, it's enough. But I think the most important thing is कि, at 19 and 20, it's our risk appetite is very high. Even if it fails 2 3 years down the line, we won't be like, yeah, we lost a lot of time. I think the experience that we would gain, inshallah, would be higher on scale, which would help us probably in our corporate lives as well.
Yeah, I think I can relate to sort of the demotivation thing, because obviously being an A-level student, and like basically it's the admission decision days aajkal, and a lot of people who don't get in are just like, bas khatam hai, what's the
Yeah.
point of giving A levels? So one should definitely have that drive in them, that even if there's a setback, it's not the end of the world. So obviously starting this at such a young age, that too you're in your early 20s, so it's difficult to multitask, I believe, doing your degree on the side, handling the startup, especially a big one, and just like handling everything and making sure that everything is as good as it can be. So like, do you aim for perfection? What's your day-to-day activity? Do you like how do you divide your time among your startup or this? Because often people who have startups, mostly startups are like a side hustle for people while they're doing a degree, or while, or they just want to make do something extra or hone their skills a bit. So often when you face challenges, आपको लगता है कि you have this thought inside कि अच्छा, is this even worth it? Do I even need to do this? And again, that maybe slow tracks your progress, and brings you closer to demotivation कि इस चीज का करने का तुक ही नहीं, I'll just focus on the main thing in my life. So how have you sort of what's your thought process going into all of that? Ke, acha, I'm going to do all of this together. I'm going to make sure that everything is as perfect as it can be, and all of that.
So, firstly, I think one of my you can say सबसे बड़ी मेरा मसला यही है time management. I don't allocate time for stuff. I never have done that, and I won't ever do that as well. I won't say कि यार अच्छा मुझे 2 घंटे देने हैं एक दिन के अंदर to Webict or stakehold and 6 घंटे देने हैं पढ़ाई को. I just can't do that. It's something that comes to me naturally. If I'm going to sit down, and if I would be enjoying work at that time, I would be working for 4 hours as well. I would be thinking about work for 6 hours as well, because if I'm enjoying, if I'm in that phase to study as well, I just can't then jaldi se divert my attention towards my startup and say कि यार अच्छा अब ये करते हैं, आज के लिए बहुत हो गया है. So that's something, because there are days where I just study and I don't even think about my startup. And I think that credit goes to my co-founders as well, because they have been we, because we are of the same grade, we know each other कि यार अच्छा इनके exams आएंगे, तो they need some time off, they need some time to think about as well. So to be very honest, our team has been very supportive. We take breaks, as many breaks as we like, and that's, I think, a good thing about having a good team. But the other side, kya, managing startups with your university or qualification or A level, O levels, metric, inter, anything, that's something upon you. If you are finding, the motivation to do it, you should do it. But if it's like यार साइड में एक हसल है, चल गया तो चल गया, नहीं चला तो सही है, डिग्री तो मिल रही है, एंड देन मैं कुछ भी जॉब मिल जाएगी 3.0 जीपीए से भी ग्रेजुएट होके, तो that's something के it you won't have an ambition, you won't have that hunger to make that startup, get that you know consumer base, get that जो भी आपको चाहिए, जो whatever you want to achieve, so you won't be able to prove that point to others. तो सबसे पहले तो आपको अपने आप को प्रूव करना होता है कि यार ये मुझे करना क्यों है. सो यू हैव टू हैव अ एंड गोल, यू हैव टू हैव प्रॉब्लम टू सॉल्व, आई वुड से. अगर आप कोई एक ऐसा काम कर रहे हो जो सब कर रहे हैं, इवन उसमें भी आपके पास मोटिवेशन नहीं है, तो आपको चाहिए कि आप पहले ही बंद कर दो. But if you have a good problem in mind, if you have a good solution for that problem, I would say that's going to depend upon your hunger and something I believe these things believe on your risk appetite as well, right? Not everyone can afford to, just start up a startup and, आप पढ़ाई पे भी tough होगा. Obviously, your attention drives away, say, from your studies, but I think it's easily manageable with your studies. आप थोड़ी सी socialization कम कर दें, अगर आपकी वो ज़्यादा है. But because obviously everything's gonna have its opportunity cost, and sometimes you have to give up things for a greater cause.
So my next question is, you in like the founder and chief executive officer capacity, you're obviously a leader. So obviously in our education system, both here and abroad, leadership is like given a lot of importance. Even when you're like in school OA levels, maybe, there are always the chances for it to, head a certain society at school, to be a member of the school council, yeah, prefectship, karna, and then, slowly then comes opportunities like these where you like head a startup and stuff like that. So, did you have any previous experience in leadership? And, if not, what are like the general qualities a leader, especially of a blockchain startup in particular, need to have, especially because, leadership also varies depending upon the nature. So in your context, what's leadership like?
So, if I were to, say about my experience, I've been playing cricket since I was 10 or 11. So, I've always wanted to be the captain of my team. I've always wanted that. I've led my school team into many tournaments. I've been playing some professional cricket as well. I've led my team back then in 2017-18, when I had when my career was at a peak. Um, but so I think leadership is something that comes to me naturally. I just feel like, yeah, I have to do this. And leadership is something for me, for especially in a startup. I would say it's, the main goal is to lead your team in a way that, they don't feel कि यार हम कहीं ऐसी जगह काम कर रहे हैं जहाँ हमें मजा नहीं आ रहा. So every person has to come up, has to wake up every day and say कि यार असाद की बात सुननी है. And because of the fact that, he's gonna keep us motivated, he's gonna, just take us in the same line. You can't have any sort of discrimination amongst each other. And, that's when and especially in startups, because I don't pay any of my employees, because I don't even consider them as my employees. I consider them as my friends. So that's something, and especially early stage startups में तो बहुत जरूरी होता है कि आपकी टीम एक साथ हो. So if you can lead your team in a way कि यार, your team doesn't feel that there is any sort of discrimination, I think then you are in the perfect sheet to be a leader. And उसके अलावा, I think for a leader, he should know about everything in a startup. He should be able to speak, he should be able to sell his brand, he should be, heading the financing, he should know about the tech, he should know about every and anything. So it's difficult for a person to know all these things and be in the market. Market के बारे में भी पता होना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी होता है in every aspect of the business or the startup. So if you have what it takes to, know about every single thing in every sector, then I think it's not going to be very difficult for a person to lead in any startup or in any organization in the future as well.
So I think we should begin wrapping up. Just like my final question is, like where do you see Webict and Stakehold within the next few years? Because obviously there's still a long journey ahead, inshallah. So how do you plan to develop this further, and like just end with sort of an advice for startups today, like how can A-level students sort of harness their interests and use that to start something as well, and how, like, what do entrepreneurs today need to have, because every market today is a very, very competitive one. So what makes you stand out, and what new ideas can you bring to the table in today's world?
So regarding Webict or stakeholder as well, the aim is very clear, and it's to reach every student in Pakistan and even in the subcontinent. So it's very simple. It's to make our education system as good as it's in the West, and make because I think ये the जो के जिस तरह दुनिया चल रही है currently, it took 100 years back in 1900s or 1800s to see a change. But today, after COVID, especially, you don't know what's going to be in demand in the next 3 years. So that's something that's our aim कि यार हम हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे हर चीज अवेलेबल हो टू अप्स फॉर अ पर्सन टू अपस्किल themselves. And in the few years, I would say currently we are doing D2C, direct to consumer. Our goal is to go to B2B as well. Inshallah, we are planning out to how we can cater organizations, and how we can serve them in terms of upskilling their labor, or any leadership classes, or any specific departmental or workshops as well. So that's what our goal is. You can say 2 3 years down the line from now. And other than that, I would say I think it's the startup century, and I would say it's this decade has to be the startup decade. And the Ayub Khan ke time pe there were 22 rich families. It's these startups are abhi bhi currently in Pakistan we are on that road. Yeah, there are some groups or some companies or some heads who are leading the way. So this startup culture is going to be a transformation for Pakistan, and it's gonna change that mindset कि जो कुछ लोग हैं because the market is very much manipulative right now. They're gonna lead the market. They're gonna throw money and make brands as well.
Yeah.
So if you can find a good solution to a big problem, so it doesn't matter if you are in A levels or O levels. It's gonna be very difficult for you. I can understand because आज भी यही हुआ. I got late because I was standing on the principal's एक institute के principal के दरवाजे पे मैं खड़ा था, and he wasn't meeting me. So it's gonna be very much difficult. But I think if you have in yourself what it takes to be the best, I think then there's no stopping you. And my advice would be just start off. Just start it, and inshallah, if things don't work, you can just take another route. Maybe that's not something for you, and maybe you can learn some things and which will help you in the corporate sector 5 10 years down the line as well.
Okay. So thank you so much, Asaad, for that advice. And with that, we've come to an end to this episode. We'll be adding Asaad's LinkedIn profile in our caption as well. So if any of you have more questions for him, feel free to connect with him on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions regarding university admissions, feel free to DM us on our Instagram page or visit our website, kisuni.org. Thank you so much, Asaad, for coming. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Farid. I really had a good time. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.